Oh, it's so good to see you. I was really hoping you're going to be able to make it today. My name's Aisha, and I'm just here working on my time machine. In honor of Black History Month, I have some friends I want you to meet. So buckle up, and I really hope you enjoy your time with me today. Speaking of time, I know exactly who I want you to meet first, and maybe they'll introduce you to one of their friends as well. See you soon.
Well, hello and welcome. My name is Benjamin Banneker. I was born on the 9th day of November in the year 1731. Now, my grandfathers were both originally from Africa. My maternal grandfather was the son of a king. Unfortunately, he was stolen by slave dealers and brought to America. He was extremely intelligent, and his skill as a farmer eventually caused him to be granted his freedom. Therefore, my mother was born a free black woman in Maryland. My father was originally from Africa as well. He was brought to the colonies in slavery, but he was granted his freedom upon being baptized as a Christian. And therefore, I was born a free man, grew up free, working on my parents' farm. Now, as a boy, I loved to read and I studied whatever I could, especially the Holy Bible, mathematics, and agriculture. I loved to understand the land and use the skills that my father and grandfathers had passed down to become better as a farmer. I was also extremely inquisitive and wanted to understand how things worked. I was very focused on making sure I understood how things were put together. So, when a colleague of mine showed me his watch, I asked him exactly how this timepiece worked. Now, mind you, in my time, clocks were not built in America. No. They were all imported from Europe. And so my friend showed me his watch and he said, well, why don't you take it and figure out how it works yourself? So I did. I spent time studying it precisely, studying the movements, understanding exactly how it was put together. And I used this knowledge to build the very first clock produced in America. It was amazing. It told time precisely and accurately for more than 20 years. And people came from all across the land to see my clock and to hear the chimes. Now, my study of mathematics and agriculture also afforded me great skill when it came to surveying the land. And this skill as a surveyor allowed me to be selected by George Washington himself, our president, as one of the designers of the layout of our nation's capital in Washington, D.C. I also took this knowledge, this study that I did, and began to study the movements of the planets and the stars and the sun and the moon and the impact that that had on the world. And by doing this, I was able to produce one of the earliest almanacs that were published here in this country. As a matter of fact, my almanac was used for years by many farmers to be able to understand weather patterns and plan their crops. But not only was I an inventor, and not only was I someone who was very studied, I also was an activist. You see, I knew that black people could be exceptional if afforded opportunities like I was. And therefore, I wrote a letter to President Thomas Jefferson asking him to strongly consider changing the conditions for black people in America. I asked him to afford us, all of us, the opportunities that many white people had, because I knew that we would achieve great things if just being given equal opportunity. President Jefferson acknowledged my letter and wrote me back. He acknowledged my accomplishments and said that the things that I had done with my life, even though I had not been formally educated in a college or a university, but just was studied, he acknowledged the fact that the things that I was able to do were proof that black people could achieve more if given more of an opportunity. Now, of course, this did not happen immediately. Unfortunately, things take time. And so I leave you to say that studying and having an inquisitive nature can allow all of us to do great and exceptional things. And speaking of exceptional, I want to introduce you. As a matter of fact, I will ask her to introduce herself to an extraordinary, accomplished business entrepreneur who is an exceptional woman in her own time.
Oh,
With that,
hello. My name is Madam CJ Walker, and I'm recruiting for my sales agents. Come work for me. Don't you want to be where the money resides? Why should you trust me? That's simple. I really had humble beginnings. I started out in Mississippi, down in the South. I moved up here to St. Louis when my husband passed. I had to support my daughter, which is why I took a job as a washerwoman, supporting us, but barely getting by. One day I saw Miss Annie Malone selling her products, the magical hair grower. I was amazed because during that time I was suffering from severe dandruff and hair loss and severe eczema. I needed some product that would help me. So I invested. I saw an opportunity and took it. But I knew I could make a better product. I just knew it down in my heart I could. One that will really help people. You know, I always say, don't sit by and let opportunities pass you. You have to get up and make them yourself. You know, being your own boss is really, really hard, but it's rewarding. All the successes led me to become the United States' first Black female millionaire. So I'm doing quite well, if some would say. The product you want to know? You'll be selling Miss Madam C.J. Walker's Miracle Hair Grower. You take a little bit every night just between your scalp and watch the curls and hair go down your back. You know, every year I donate over $10,000 to men and women to support their education in Southern colleges and institutes. I love giving back to my community. So, you still thinking of becoming a sales agent? Come on. There's money to be made around here, y'all.
This shirt is wrinkled. Should be ashamed of my. Hi! Welcome back. How was it? Did you learn a lot? I hope so. You met Benjamin Banneker and Madam C.J. Walker, two very important people from history. My time machine? It's pretty awesome, if I do say so myself. Speaking of this wrinkly shirt I've got on, I actually know the next person I want you to meet. She contributed specifically to helping just that, wrinkles. So, buckle back in and let's meet my next friend. I'll see you soon.
Oh, hi! You caught me in the middle of making a dress. My name is Sarah Boone. I'm an African American inventor known for patenting and improvement to the ironing board. But before I tell you about that, I want to share my background. I was born in 1832 under the name Sarah Marshall in North Carolina. At 15 years old, I married my husband, James Boone, and we moved to New Haven, Connecticut, where I worked as a dressmaker and my husband as a brick mason. During this era, dressmakers would use a wooden board, usually laying across a chair or two chairs, and they would try to press out their garments this way. But it was a very competitive time, and I wanted to be able to make my dresses more effectively without it slipping around and creating wrinkles. So it was out with the old and in with the new. I created a padded design that would eliminate imperfections produced by a wooden board, a design that was collapsible for easy storage. And in 1891, I decided to patent my invention. After recently learning how to read and write, I wrote my own application. And on the patent application, I wrote that I wanted to produce a cheap, simple, and convenient, highly effective device, particularly designed for ironing the sleeves and bodies of ladies' garments. And in April 26, 1892, the US government published my patent. This earned me the title of one of the very first female African American inventors. Well, there you have it. It was so great sharing my story with you all. and I hope you learned something new. Well, I've got to get back to making my dresses. Bye now!
Back. Isn't this time machine great? Oh, you just met Sarah Boone, didn't you? Oh, I love hearing the stories of where some of her dresses have gone. I can just imagine some of the functions and parties and jams that they went to. Speaking of jam, I know exactly where to drop you off next.
Jam into it. You probably think I invented peanut butter when actually I did not. Hi, I'm George Washington Carver. And normally I'm not too big on bragging or boasting about myself, but since you guys were so kind enough to stop by, I think we can have a few minutes of chit chat. Let's see where to start. Well, I was born to slavery in Newton County, Missouri in 1864. Orphan as a child, I was actually raised by a family known as the Carvers, which is the same family that owned my parents as slaves. During my childhood, I was fascinated by plants and received the nickname the plant doctor. I moved to Kansas where I performed agricultural experiments and also worked to save enough money for me to attend college. In 1894, I attended Simpson College in Iowa, where surprisingly, I studied art. Here's actually a portrait of myself that I'm working on. You see that guy's pretty handsome right there. My art teacher actually persuaded me to switch my major to horticulture and agricultural sciences, which I happily did. Upon graduating, my friend Booker T. Washington at the Tuskegee Institute offered me a job, which I accepted. It was there that I realized my goal in life was to help a former slave population become self-sufficient through farming. I traveled around educating farmers on crop rotation and utilizing peanuts to conserve nutrients in their soil. I developed over 300 uses for the peanut and over 100 uses for the sweet potato. Some of these uses include medicine, paint, beverages, and of course, peanut butter, which again, I was not the first to develop, but I added to its legacy. I had a chance to work with Henry Ford in developing alternative fuels using soybeans, which is a proud accomplishment for me. Essentially, I created inventions that would help to assist agricultural productivity of black and white farmers alike. I just honestly feel so blessed, in my gifts as a scientist, painter, crocheter, and musician that I want to give back. So I used my musical talents as a pianist to help raise money for the Tuskegee Institute. You guys happen to know that guy, Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb? Well, I actually turned down the opportunity to work with him because I felt it's best for me to focus on supporting the rural, poor African American community. As it says in my quotes, I could have added fortune and fame, but I cared for neither. I find my happiness and honor in being helpful to the world.
He did not invent peanut butter. We gotta let that go, ladies and gentlemen. George Washington Carver, how was he? Did you learn something new? I knew you would. It's a time machine, of course. So, did you hear his mention of Tuskegee Institute? Or today, Tuskegee University? Yeah? Good job. You're paying attention. Well, I have a Tuskegee Airman that I think you need to meet. So, let's go. I'll see you in a second.
Hey there, so good to see you. I'm Colonel Charles Edward McGee, and I was one of the first African American aviators to serve in the U.S. Army Air Corps. I was born in 1919, and after high school, I studied engineering and applied to the Tuskegee program and was accepted as a pilot. After graduating from flight training in Tuskegee in 1943, I was assigned to the 332nd Fighter Group, in which I flew 137 combat missions. I flew the P-51 Mustang and was one of the red-tailed angels that escorted heavy bombers over targets in occupied Europe. My airplane was the P-51 fighter, and I named her Kitten because my crew chief kept that engine purring like a kitten. I served with more than 900 black pilots trained at Tuskegee, and more than 400 served overseas, piloting aircraft that were easily identifiable by the red paint on their tails. The pilots became symbols of black excellence at a time when many African Americans were waging a double victory campaign, fighting for freedom from the Axis power overseas and from racism at home. The Tuskegee Airmen broke through a massive segregation barrier in the American military. Their success and heroism during World War II, fighting Germans in the skies over Europe, shattered by stereotypes that African Americans had neither the character or the aptitude for combat, and their achievements laid crucial groundwork for civil rights progress in the decades to come. My military decorations included the Legion of Merit, Distinguished Flying Cross, Bronze Star Medal, and Air Medal. In 1972, I founded the Tuskegee Airmen, Inc., a nonprofit support group where I frequently talked about Tuskegee Airmen and their accomplishments. After World War II, I returned to school to receive a bachelor's degree in business, graduating from Columbia College in Missouri in 1978. I held several command posts, becoming the first African American to oversee a stateside Air Force wing and base in the Integrated Air Force. Time to fly.
Charles had to take off. That's so cool. Do you want to be a pilot now? I think I do too. Have you ever thought about the mathematics required to take a plane into the sky and keep it there? Or better yet, a rocket into space? My next friend has. That's who I'm introducing you to next. See you in a minute.
Oh, hey! It's great seeing you here. I'm Katherine Johnson, one of NASA's first African-American female research mathematicians and scientists. They called me a human computer. My calculations of orbital mechanics were pivotal to the success of the first U.S. spaceflight. Because of my gift in mathematics, I've received many awards, including the Presidential Medal of Freedom, presented by our very own Barack Obama. I also received NASA's Group Achievement Award and a Congressional Medal. They even made a movie about me and two of my friends, Dorothy and Mary. It's called Hidden Figures. You should check it out. You'll see how I got this really beautiful pearl necklace. Math has always been near and dear to my heart. I counted everything. The steps to the road, the steps to church. If it could be counted, I did. If you love what you do, you're gonna do your very best. And I love numbers. I always have. How do you feel about mathematics? STEM will always remain. Science, technology, engineering, it'll always be here. It'll never fade. And there will always be mathematics. Okay, guys, I've got to get back to my calculations. We got to get these boys in the air. I'll see you next time.
Wow. Do you love math as much as Catherine? I don't know if anyone does, but her hard work and dedication got her to NASA. That's a really big deal. She shattered that ceiling, and thanks to her, several other people like her were able to work with them as well. I know exactly who I'm going to introduce you to next. Let's go.
Well, hello there. Did you hear that sound? That was the sonic boom. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later, but first let me introduce myself. My name is Christine Darden, and I've always been interested in math and science. I started learning about it at an early age. My mother tells the story of giving me a talking doll when I was 5. She was disappointed because instead of playing with the doll, I cut it open to see why it talked. I also helped my dad work on his car and change the oil. What can I say? I love math and science. I became interested in space and aeronautics when I was in high school. On October 4th, 1957, Sputnik launched, and I felt the country's excitement that Russia beat us into space. Also, I attended college at Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia. John Glenn's parade rode right by our campus. I first came to work at NASA after graduating with my master's degree in applied mathematics in 1967. I was hired as a data analyst in the high-speed aeronautics division. We were female mathematicians who helped the male engineers create documents about wing and airflow shapes for the military and airplane companies. The engineers had slide rules and mechanical calculators, but didn't like doing the calculations. So the head computer assigned young ladies to do the work. I was grateful for the opportunity, but I had bigger goals. I wanted to be in engineering. You see, men in engineering did research. They gave talks, wrote and published papers, and got promoted. The women, on the other hand, followed the engineers' orders. Sometimes they didn't even know what they were working on. They didn't give talks, weren't recognized on papers, even when they helped, and didn't get promoted. So eventually, I asked for a transfer to engineering, which my supervisor said was impossible. So I went to the director and asked why males and females with the same background were assigned different jobs. He said, nobody's ever asked me that question before. And I said, well, I'm asking it now. 3 weeks later, I got promoted to engineering. My first assignment as an engineer was when my supervisor asked me to program the equations from a paper on sonic boom minimization. Supersonic planes could transport passengers and cargo at tremendous speed, but the sonic booms they leave behind in their wake are extremely disruptive. My many years of research and testing has helped lessen their impact and is still being used today in new experimental planes. I retired from NASA in 2007 after 40 years, and now I spend a lot of time speaking to student groups and Girl Scout troops. In recent years, I've been talking to students all over the country. Invariably, the young women come up and say, "We didn't know women work like that." Girls need to know that women do this work. Now, I bet you're wondering if I knew the other hidden figures you may have read about in Margot Lee Shetterly's book. Well, the answer is yes. Dorothy Vaughan lived down the street from me. She started in 1943, so she was 24 years ahead of me. Mary Jackson and Katherine Johnson were 15 years ahead of me. Katherine's daughter was my classmate. Katherine and I sang together in church for 50 years. However, I never read anything at NASA about what she or the others did, as their work really was hidden. In 2019, all 4 of us were awarded Congressional Gold Medals. I am proud that I was able to stand on the shoulders of women who came before me, and women who come after me can stand on mine.
That's right, Christine. You are hidden no more. As Rihanna would say, you are shining bright like a diamond. We definitely understand the fact that you stood on the shoulders of the women before you, but you left your shoulders there for the next generations. My time machine is going to introduce the next person who did just that. So hold on, because we are blasting off to new heights. I'll see you in just a moment.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm May C. Jemison to be exact. You may know me as the first African female astronaut, or maybe as the first African American female in space. But I'm pretty sure there's a few things you may not know. As an early child, I developed a love for space and astronomy. I spent countless hours in the library. I balanced my studies with a love for dance. I excelled in jazz, ballet, and African dance. I knew I was destined to be a scientist. Even though there was a few doubters along the way, I still persevered. Most 16-year-olds get their driver's license. But I was doing something much bigger. I started Stanford University. Can you believe it? I was in college. Although it was difficult to be so young, I persevered. I graduated with degrees in chemical engineering and African American studies. I went on to earn my medical degree from Cornell Medical School. That's right, I'm a doctor too. And I even got to continue my dance studies at the Alvin Ailey Theater. After earning my medical degree, I spent a few years as a general practitioner before joining the Peace Corps, and I was off to Africa. Once I returned home to the United States, I knew it was time. I had to follow my heart. I applied to NASA's training program twice before being accepted. I trained so hard with the other students for a year, and in 1992, it was finally time. I was headed to space. Here's a fun fact for you. Although I dreamed of this very moment, I am terrified of heights. On September 12th of 1992, I became the first African American woman to fly into space. I spent 8 days conducting experiments on motion sickness and weightlessness. Myself and 6 other astronauts worked in shifts. I began each one of my shifts with a line from a show I loved, Star Trek. I would radio mission control and say, "Hailing, frequencies open," and they would know May was on the shift. In March of 1993, I resigned from NASA with hopes of becoming an entrepreneur, and that I did. Since then, I have worked for multiple charities. I've even written a children's book, which you can find on Amazon. I started multiple science and technology companies, and guess what? I finally appeared on my favorite show, Star Trek. By the way, I even have my own Lego. How many of your heroes can say that? I'll leave you with a line of one of my favorite quotes. Remember, the best way to make your dreams come true is simply to wake up. I've enjoyed sharing a little bit of my story with you guys, but I've got to run. I've got a few more Star Trek episodes to watch.
Come on back down to earth. How was it? Isn't May great? I love listening to her stories. She's so interesting, isn't she? How many people can say that they've gone to space? Not many. Oh, this journey's been so much fun. I'm so excited for you guys. My head is literally spinning and my vision's going blurry. My vision's going blurry? That's probably not good. Let's use my time machine again and see if we can find someone that can help us out. I've got the right person in mind.
Did you say cloudy vision? Can you wipe your eyes with a tissue? Still there, huh? Sometimes you can wipe the cloud out, but sometimes you can't. Let me take a look at the pictures behind me. Oh yes, it looks like there's a small cloud over your eyeball. That's an eye condition called cataracts. Cataracts is a film that slowly covers the lens of your eyeball. It can make things look blurry, colors look faded, and lights can hurt your eyes. Don't think only old people can get cataracts. Some people are born with it, and others develop it over time. Cataracts can develop in one or both eyes. If cataracts is left untreated, it can lead to blindness. Well, no need to worry. I can fix that right up. But first, let me tell you who I am. My name is Dr. Patricia E. Bath. I am the first Black woman eye doctor. I obtained my medical degree from Howard University in 1968. And while on a fellowship at Columbia University, I developed an interest in eye care. In 1974, I was the first woman on the faculty of Department of Ophthalmology at Jules Stein Eye Institute. Because white men were not comfortable with my status, I was given a small office and it was near the secretarial area. But I didn't let that bother me. I kept my eye on the prize, and I founded the American Institute for the Prevention of Blindness, where we believe eyesight is a basic human right. Here at the American Eye Institute for the Prevention of Blindness, I developed and invented the laser focal surgery. in 1986. Laser focal surgery is the use of lasers to remove the cataract's lens and replace with a new lens, restoring eyesight. My invention was not widely accepted. In fact, some were angry with little old me for having a great scientific breakthrough and not cracking, but shattering the glass ceiling for black women. Can you believe a director from a prominent institution did not believe in my invention and wouldn't even look at me? Ha! I didn't allow obstacles such as sexism, racism, and poverty deter me from my goal. I was determined, taking my research abroad where it was widely accepted on its merits, to France, Germany, and England before coming back to the US. I wasn't seeking to be first. I was doing my thing. I just wanted to serve humanity along the way, to give the gift of eyesight. Did you hear that? It's another black woman shattering the glass ceiling.
I hear it too, Dr. Bath. That glass ceiling is in shambles. Well, my time machine is starting to blow smoke a little bit, so we only have time for one more friend. Well, keeping on theme with vision, I know one person that you have to meet. Let's go, and I'll see you back here in just a minute.
Hello, everyone. I'm Valerie Thomas, and some of you may or may not know who I am. But if you've ever been to the movies and worn one of these, then you definitely have seen one of my contributions to technology and the way we experience movies. But before I get into that, let me tell you a little bit more about me. I was born February 8th, 1943 in Maryland, and I loved what we now call today STEM: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I used to watch my father take apart the television at home and watch all the different ways the components inside of that television produce what we see on the screen. But during that time, it was not common for women to participate in STEM studies. So I had to manifest my own path with only a few supporters along the way. I graduated from an all-girls high school and attended Morgan State University and became one of 2 women to major in physics. After graduating with the highest of honors in 1964, I started working for NASA as a mathematician data analyst. Yes, I was another hidden gem. At NASA, I was part of the Lancet project, which was the first satellite to send multispectral images of Earth from space so that we could study Earth's land masses. I managed the processing systems on that project. One of my most prominent ideas came along when I attended a STEM event. I saw the illusion of a light bulb transmitting another light bulb, and I began experimenting and was able to produce a similar illusion. This led to the invention of the illusion transmitter. An illusion transmitter creates the appearance of a 3D image using a concave mirror and rays of light. NASA and other scientists use it today for experiments, and there are hopes that one day we'll be able to watch TV in 3D without glasses, kind of sort of like a hologram. After retiring in 1995 from NASA with numerous successful projects and positions, I decided to devote my time to teaching and encouraging STEM careers and studies for women. Well, I gotta go. It's been fun chatting with you, but I got a movie to catch. I hope this has been informative.
Well, that's all the time we have today. I hope you learned a lot and you enjoyed your time with me. My time machine is so tired. It's time for me to take it apart. Don't forget, we want to hear from you. Tell us something that you learned. Maybe teach us something. Show us some of your friends from history. Send us a video response, and you'll be entered into a competition to win a STEM package. That's science, technology, engineering, and math. Right on brand with the people that you met today. So, again, thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed this year's Living History Museum. Bye-bye.